Eric Rio stands on a brightly lit stage, the crowd's cheers filling the air. He has just claimed victory at the 2022 European International Championship. In a heartfelt moment, he expresses gratitude to his family, gives a shout out to his friends, and silently acknowledges a man sitting over 9,000 kilometers away. This man, who Eric has never met beyond a few online Pokemon battles, crafted the team that not only transformed Eric's life, but also shifted the entire landscape of the Pokemon community. This is the story of how Rinya Kobayashi changed Pokemon VGC. The 2022 competitive season was unlike any other, shaped by circumstances that threw the usual rhythm of Pokemon VGC off balance. The previous season, held mostly online and featuring far fewer tournaments, players entered the later half of Pokemon Sword and Shield's competitive lifespan in a meta that felt far less solved compared to previous games. Strategies that might typically dominate by this stage were still being developed, creating an environment ripe for experimentation. Adding to this, in February 2022, the game allowed players to use two of the most powerful legendary Pokemon in their teams at the same time, like Calyrex Shadow Rider or Lunala, something that hadn't been allowed since 2019. This is a double restricted format. Restricted Pokemon, the game's most powerful meta-defining creatures, are only introduced late into a game's competitive cycle, and their presence always warps the meta in ways that are hard to predict. Despite this unpredictability of the meta, players eagerly speculated about the strongest Pokemon for the upcoming format.
Next up, Zacian, Groudon,
Yveltal,
Lugia.
Probably the strongest, I think, restricted duo because of typing synergy and offensively. Zacian plus Kyogre.
At the forefront was Kyogre. For many, Kyogre was a Pokemon to beat, known for its impact across various generations of competitive Pokemon. Kyogre is unique amongst the original Hoenn legendaries for having a type that aligns perfectly with its weather-affecting ability. Boasting significant natural bulk and a powerful move pool that harnesses a remarkable 150 base special attack, a number that makes it one of the top 5 strongest available special attackers, it was clear that Kyogre would be a defining force in the final season of Pokemon Sword and Shield. From Kyogre's dominance emerged the Kyogre Sword archetype, which paired Kyogre next to Zacian as the primary offensive threats. This hyper-offensive team was designed to dismantle opponents rapidly, often even before they had a chance to consider what they were facing. Try to picture what it was like facing down this duo. Zacian cuts down your Pokemon's health, and once you think you've seen the worst, Kyogre's tidal wave-like attacks finish off whatever you have left. Variants of the Kyogre Sword team utilized Pokemon like Tornadus, Whimsicott, and Regieleki to cripple the opponent's speed, allowing for devastating combinations of Water Spout, Origin Pulse, and Behemoth Blade to sweep through teams. Battles involving this team archetype were typically swift, with outcomes often decided in the opening turn, and even with a dedicated plan to outmaneuver it, chances of winning the game were a coin flip at best. This reliability is why Kyogre Sword was largely hailed as the most consistent team in the entire format.
See Kyogre use Hyper Beam, and there it is, with a cheeky little smile as that poor Gastrodon is knocked out and
But what does any of this have to do with Rinya Kobayashi?
So first of all, I started thinking about how I could beat the current Kyogre plus Zacian build. At the time, Kyogre plus Zacian was just starting to become popular, and the mainstream was to use competitive Thundurus with Life Orb, so it felt almost impossible to beat. I was starting to feel like this was impossible, but then I came up with a stupid idea.
Together with his friend Joji Kaida, known in the community as Suika, a revered Pokemon powerhouse himself, Rinya proposed a simple question. What if I designed a team specifically to counter Kyogre Sword? Counter-teaming is not a new idea in competitive Pokemon. Players have been doing it for years, but none have ever done it quite like Rinya Kobayashi. Rinya equipped his team with a durable weakness policy Charizard, specifically designed to counter electric types like Thundurus and Regieleki. When these Pokemon attacked into Charizard, believing themselves to have the advantage, the weakness policy activates, boosting Charizard's special attack and allowing it to unleash a devastating counterattack. Grimmsnarl and Incineroar were tasked with crippling any opposing Zacian with a combination of Reflect and the ability Intimidate. And most notably, he outfitted the team with Gastrodon alongside a bulky Assault Vest Groudon to neutralize Kyogre's potent water attacks, effectively dismantling the primary offense of the Kyogre Sword team. Alongside his own Zacian to enhance the team's overall damage output, Rinya crafted a lineup that in theory possessed all the necessary tools to counter any Kyogre strategy. At the time, while well respected within the international Pokemon community, Rinya Kobayashi was not widely known among the broader player base. In fact, it's possible that if you were playing at this time, you may have battled Rinya and thought nothing of it, another face in the crowd. However, this obscurity was destined to end with the start of the February 2022 International Challenge. With this tournament, Rinya's name would become part of the fabric of Pokemon history. Rinya Kobayashi revolutionized the Sun Team archetype, departing from the traditional hyper-offensive strategies typified by Venusaur or Heatran. His creation, soon dubbed Rinya Sun, leveraged continual pressure from Pokemon typically not thought of as having any staying power. As it turned out, Rinya had made a team that wasn't just good into Kyogre Sword, it was just good. Starting with a 6th place finish in its debut at the February International Challenge, Rinya Sun embarked on an unparalleled streak of victories across various tournaments. 1st place at the 2022 Brisbane Special Event piloted by Henry Rich, 1st at the Salt Lake Regional Championship under Chung Young Ping, 1st at the Liverpool Special Event, the Taichung Special Event, and Eric Rios stands on a brightly lit stage. Across from him, an opponent, Oliver Escalin, who commands a formidable duo of Kyogre and
National
Zacian.
Championships. Oliver is leading out with Landorus, with Groudon and Charizard. Charizard goes for the max airstream. Let's go for the Thunder down into this opposing Zacian. Fire Punch will secure game 1 for Eric Rios. Kyogre goes for a Water Spout and takes out the KO. Oliver really took command, control. Kyogre goes for the max Lightning, connects down onto the opposing Charizard. Going for the Behemoth Blade, going to find its mark down on the opposing Incineroar. Groudon going to follow up with the Fire Punch though into the Rillaboom and pick up the KO.
This locks it up for Eric. He's made a perfect predict there with the Protect, and he is going to be going on to become our European International Champion.
As Eric Rios claims the title of the 2022 European International Champion, he expresses his gratitude to his family, gives a shout out to his friends, and silently acknowledges a man sitting over 9,000 kilometers away. Rinya Kobayashi, the architect of the most celebrated Sun team in Pokemon history. The legacy of Rinya Sun extends far beyond the European International Championship, stretching across continents and competitions, reshaping how players build their teams. Its influence persists in the competitive strategies even seen in today's teams. But back in 2022, a version of this team would go on to win or nearly win every major tournament for the remainder of the Pokemon Sword and Shield era, including a notable 2nd place finish at the 2022 Pokemon World Championship in London. Oh, and by the way, who was the 10th place finisher at that same London World Championship? Rinya Kobayashi himself, masterfully piloting a very familiar team. Thanks for watching.
Pika pika.
Hey future champs, I just wanted to share this story because it's quite rare for a competitive team to become so legendary that it's named after a single person. This is the most famous instance of this phenomenon in the Pokemon community. Yeah, so anyway, I've got plenty more stories where this came from, so if you enjoy these niche VGC type videos, then please show your support, like this video, and subscribe if you want to see more. Or not, I don't know, it's your call. Okay, bye-bye.